Silence has a power that most of us underestimate. When the world provokes you, when people test you, when situations try to pull you out of your peace, the instinct is often to react, defend, and prove. But the truth is, sometimes the greatest strength you can show is in stillness. It's not that you're unaffected, it's that you've grown strong enough not to let what bothers you control your response. Silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. Think of silence as the very first layer of armor you put on before stepping into the battles of daily life. Armor doesn't mean you are weak. It means you are wise enough to protect what matters most. When someone tries to provoke you, they are really seeking access to your emotions. They want your reaction because your reaction feeds their need for power, validation, or control. But the moment you stay quiet, you deny them entry. You're saying, you don't get to decide how I feel or how I respond. Silence is not about pretending nothing happened. It's about knowing that not everything deserves your voice. The world will constantly throw little fires at you, disrespect, gossip, misunderstandings, judgments. And if you poured your energy into extinguishing every single flame, you'd have nothing left for the bigger goals in your life. Silence allows you to choose wisely which battles are worth your energy. It's also a signal to yourself that you are in control, because when you can stay silent in moments of provocation, you're teaching your brain and heart to stay aligned instead of scattered. You're reminding yourself, my peace is not negotiable. My energy is not cheap. Think about it. Have you ever noticed that the people who are calm in storms are the ones others trust the most? Their silence doesn't mean they don't feel pressure. It means they've learned to let their silence be their shield until they know the right time to act. That's what makes silence a true layer of armor. It's invisible, but it's powerful enough to protect you from unnecessary wounds. When you learn to carry silence like armor, you stop reacting to every shadow, every opinion, every attempt to disturb you. Instead, you stand firm, you protect your spirit first, and only then decide whether the situation deserves your words, your action, or simply your unbothered presence. There's a huge difference between pretending something doesn't exist and choosing to discipline yourself in how you respond to it. Acting unbothered doesn't mean you've shut off your feelings or buried them so deep they no longer matter. It doesn't mean you're in denial about the things that hurt, disappoint, or frustrate you. What it does mean is that you've trained yourself not to let those feelings spill out in destructive ways. Discipline is about restraint. It's the conscious choice to say, I feel this, but I don't have to display it. You might be hurt, but you don't give that hurt to the person who would use it against you. You might be angry, but you don't hand that anger to someone who feeds on chaos. You might be frustrated, but you don't perform that frustration for an audience waiting to see you break. To act unbothered requires inner strength. It's learning to separate what is real inside you from what is necessary to show outside you. And here's the truth, feelings are valid, but not every feeling needs to be broadcast. You can honor your emotions in private without surrendering your dignity in public. Think of it like a river. Emotions flow quickly, sometimes powerfully, but if you allow every surge to overflow, you flood everything around you. Discipline acts like the riverbank. It holds your emotions in place, it channels them, it makes sure they serve a purpose instead of causing destruction. Acting unbothered doesn't kill the river, it simply keeps it from drowning you. When people see you respond with calmness instead of chaos, they may think you don't care. But the truth is deeper. You care enough about yourself to guard your energy. You care enough about your purpose to not be distracted. You care enough about your future to not let temporary storms decide your permanent direction. Discipline is what creates resilience, and resilience is what allows you to stand in the middle of a storm, feeling every drop of rain, yet still walking forward as if the storm can't stop you. That's the power of acting unbothered, not because you feel nothing, but because you've trained yourself to master everything you feel. Noise is everywhere, arguments, gossip, criticism, opinions shouted into the air just to get a reaction. Some people thrive on noise because it makes them feel powerful. They want to push your buttons, draw you into their drama, and watch you unravel. That's their fuel. But when you choose silence in those moments, you're doing something radical. You're refusing to become their power source. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is a message. It says, I see what you're doing, and I won't give you what you're looking for. The more someone tries to provoke you, and the less you respond, the louder your silence becomes. It unsettles them because they don't know how to fight someone who doesn't swing back. They don't know how to manipulate someone who won't react. Your silence, in fact, exposes their noise. Because when you step back, their words echo in the air without resistance. People begin to notice the difference. One voice is calm, the other is chaotic. One is grounded, the other is scattered. In that comparison, the noise reveals itself for what it really is: insecurity, looking for validation. But your silence is not just about them, it's also about you. Every time you stay quiet when provoked, you are reminding yourself that not every invitation to conflict deserves your RSVP. You are proving to yourself that you don't need to shout to be strong. You don't need to argue to be wise. You don't need to match their noise to prove your worth. Think about the leaders, mentors, or elders you admire most. They don't waste their energy arguing with every critic or clapping back at every insult. Their silence carries a weight, a dignity that demands respect without ever needing to raise their voice. That's the power you step into when you learn to let your silence do the talking. So the next time someone comes at you with negativity, remember this truth: your silence is not weakness. It's a declaration. It's you saying, your noise cannot penetrate my peace. Your words cannot shake my foundation. Your chaos cannot drown out my calm. And when you live that way consistently, your silence becomes louder, stronger, and more respected than any noise ever could. One of the hardest lessons to learn in life is that not every battle is worth fighting, and not every argument is worth winning. So much of what pulls us into conflict is really ego, our need to be right, our need to have the last word, our need to prove that we are smarter, stronger, more justified. But here's the truth: proving a point might satisfy your pride for a moment, but it rarely satisfies your soul. Peace, on the other hand, sustains you far longer. Protecting your peace means knowing the difference between what deserves your voice and what deserves your silence. You don't have to respond to every insult. You don't have to correct every misconception. You don't have to convince people who are determined not to understand you. There is freedom in realizing that you don't owe anyone an explanation for who you are, what you believe, or how you live your life. The cost of constantly proving yourself is high. It drains your energy, steals your joy, and distracts you from your real purpose. Meanwhile, peace allows you to stay focused on what truly matters. It allows you to wake up in the morning with clarity instead of regret, with lightness instead of heaviness. That's why peace is worth more than pride. And here's the irony: when you stop fighting to prove yourself, you often prove more than you ever could with words. People see your calmness. They see your steadiness. They see that you are not easily rattled. That quiet confidence becomes undeniable. It says without a word, I know who I am, and I don't need your validation to keep walking my path. Sometimes the greatest strength you can show is in letting go of the need to win. Because winning an argument doesn't always mean victory. It can also mean losing your inner balance, lowering your dignity, or wasting your time. Protecting your peace is a different kind of victory. It's one that doesn't need applause or recognition because the reward is internal. You stay whole, you stay steady, you stay aligned. So ask yourself in moments of conflict, is this about truth Or is this about ego? Is this worth my energy, or is this draining it? Am I protecting my peace, or am I trading it away just to say I was right? The answers to those questions will guide you. And once you've tasted the freedom of peace, you'll never go back to trading it for petty arguments again. Confidence doesn't always look like standing on a stage, speaking the loudest, or demanding attention. Real confidence is often quiet. It's subtle. It's the kind of presence that doesn't need to announce itself because it carries weight without words. Quiet confidence is not about shrinking. It's about knowing that your worth is so secure, you don't need to prove it to anyone. When you act as though nothing rattles you, people take notice. They may not say it out loud, but they start to respect you differently. Why? Because calmness under pressure is rare. Most people crack when life pushes them. They lash out, defend themselves, or show how unsettled they really are. But when you remain steady, when you don't let every insult, setback, or challenge shake your spirit, you communicate a kind of inner strength that others can't ignore. Quiet confidence tells the world, I don't need a validation to know my value. I don't need applause to know I matter. I don't need to defend myself to prove who I am. That kind of grounded presence commands respect without demanding it. People may not always like you, but they will learn to respect you when they see that you don't bend to pressure or break under criticism. Think about the people in your life you admire most. Are they the loudest in the room, or are they the ones who carry themselves with dignity, consistency, and steadiness? Often it's not their words, but their composure that earns your trust. Their calmness in chaos makes you believe in them. Their quiet strength gives you reassurance. That is the essence of respect. It's earned, not shouted for. And here's the beautiful truth: quiet confidence doesn't just influence how others see you. It shapes how you see yourself. Every time you remain calm instead of defensive, every time you stand tall without boasting, you reinforce to yourself that you are capable, steady, and strong. Over time, you don't just act confident, you become confident. Respect built on noise fades quickly. Respect built on quiet strength lasts. Because people remember not just what you said, but how you carried yourself when things were difficult. That's why the person who stays calm, collected, and centered will always be remembered longer than the one who shouted the loudest. So if you want true respect, don't chase it, don't beg for it, don't perform for it. Instead, live in such a way that your quiet confidence speaks for you. And the respect you gain will be deeper, stronger, and far more lasting than anything words could win. One of the greatest gifts silence gives you is space. The kind of space you need to breathe, think, and see things as they really are. When emotions run high, when people throw words at you, or when situations feel overwhelming, the instinct is often to react immediately. But fast reactions rarely lead to wise decisions. They are fueled by emotion, not by clarity. Silence interrupts that cycle. It slows everything down long enough for you to separate what's urgent from what's important. When you stay silent, you're not ignoring the situation. You're giving yourself permission to observe it without distortion. Silence is like stepping back from a painting. Up close, all you see are messy brushstrokes, random colors, and sharp lines. But when you step back, the bigger picture begins to emerge. That's what silence does for your mind. It pulls you out of the blur of emotion and allows you to see the fuller truth. Silence also prevents regret. How many times have you said something in the heat of the moment, only to wish you could take it back? A single outburst can damage trust, close doors, or change the way someone sees you forever. But when you choose silence, you buy yourself the gift of time, time to think, time to weigh your words, time to choose a response that reflects who you want to be, not just how you feel in that moment. More importantly, silence makes room for wisdom. When you quiet your voice, you make space to hear the deeper voice within, the one that often gets drowned out by noise. Call it intuition, Call it inner guidance. Call it your higher self. It's that calm inner knowing that rises when everything else is still. Silence creates the channel for clarity to flow through. Clarity doesn't shout, it whispers. It comes in the pause, in the breath you take before responding, in the choice to walk away rather than escalate. And the more you practice silence, the sharper that clarity becomes. You begin to see what deserves your attention and what doesn't. You begin to discern who is worth your energy and who is not. You begin to realize that sometimes the best response is no response at all. So the next time you're pulled into a storm, remember this silence is not an absence of power. It is the birthplace of clarity. And clarity is what allows you to make decisions that align with your values, protect your peace, and keep you moving toward your purpose. Silence is not weakness. It is wisdom. Acting unbothered is not denial. It is discipline. And choosing peace over conflict is not surrender. It is strength. When you learn to stay quiet in the face of noise, to guard your energy in the face of provocation, and to protect your peace above your pride, you step into a new level of maturity. The world will always try to shake you, but you don't have to be shaken. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to prove yourself to people determined not to understand you. Instead, you can let your silence speak, let your calmness lead, and let your confidence build respect that no words could ever win. So remember, this silence is not about pretending. It's about choosing. Choosing clarity over chaos, choosing peace over pride, choosing strength over noise. And when you make that choice, you discover that nothing, absolutely nothing, has the power to bother you unless you give it permission.